In section 6.1, we begin a new chapter talking about polynomials, and this is a foundational lesson. And as you can see, our goal here is to help you to understand how you can classify polynomials by both degree and number of terms. We're going to give you some terminology that basically are going to enable you to name polynomials. The first name of the polynomial will be whatever its degree ends up being, and we're going to show you how you can find the degree. And then the second name of the polynomial will be how to identify the number of terms. And so I thought I would show you some examples of the homework assignment, but first of all, this is a little table that you're going to refer to quite often throughout this lesson. You may just want to pause at this point and make sure you get this in your notes. On the left side, we have some terms that help us to classify polynomials by their degree. And the way we identify the degree is we look for the highest exponent for the variable x. So let me just give you an example here. If the highest exponent for x were 3, then we would say that this polynomial was considered to be cubic. It's a cubic function. If the highest exponent for x happened to be 5, in other words, n equals 5, then we would call this a quintic polynomial function. All right? And then the second column helps us to identify the second part of the classification will be how many terms is involved. So obviously if there's only one term, we call that monomial, 2 terms binomial, so forth. You get the idea. We have specific single term ways of classifying polynomials for the first 3, terms 1, 2, and 3. But if the polynomial contains 4 or more, then we're just simply going to say that it's a polynomial with that many terms. So for example, if I end up with a polynomial that has 7 terms, and I'm asked to classify it by the number of terms, then I would just say this is a polynomial with 7 terms. If the polynomial had 3 terms, then I would say trinomial. All right, so this table will be used quite often, and hopefully you'll use this so much to where you'll get very familiar. You'll need to know without looking at a table what these different terms are, how it relates to finding the degree, classifying by degree, and then how to classify by the number of terms. All right, so let's get started. What I'm about to do is much like what you're going to do on problems 1 through 12 of the assignment, which simply says to, first of all, write each polynomial in standard form. Well, a very important part of writing in standard form may involve combining like terms. So always check to see if you can combine like terms first. And number 1, that is possible because these red parentheses aren't actually part of the problem. I just put them there to emphasize that I do have like terms. I have 2 linear terms that could be put together, and then I've got a constant. Standard form means that I write my terms in highest to lowest exponent order. Okay, so that's kind of simple in this case because I only have one term that contains the variable x, and it's got an exponent of 1, of course. So this is my standard form for this particular polynomial. So classifying by degree, once again, the highest exponent for x is 1, so that's called linear. And there are 2 terms in this expression, so to finish it off, the second name would be binomial. So standard form, and then classifying first by degree, and then by number of terms. Okay, so number 2, I need to gather up these 2 cubic terms, put those together, and that would be 5x to the third. Then I look for some x squared terms. I just have 1, and I just have 1 linear term. and I don't have anything else that can be combined. notice my exponents go from highest to lowest in order. And so now I'm ready to classify. That's the standard form. Highest exponent for x is 3, so that's called cubic. And there are 3 terms in this expression, so that's called a trinomial. All right. Hey. In this problem number 3, I'm going to try to combine like terms, but I don't have any like terms. So I'm going to just start arranging these in standard form. Highest exponent first, so that would have negative 3x to the 4th. My next exponent would be the cubic term, so that's going to be plus x to the 3rd. And then finally I will have negative 2x squared. Notice my exponents, high to low in order. So that's the standard form. I look at the highest exponent for x, and it's 4. So that means this is a quartic. And then classifying by number of terms would make this a trinomial. Okay, I have a few more examples for you. I just took this off of page 304. It's problem number 45. And this comes from a block of problems. The whole block starts with number 33 and goes through number 45. And your instructions here are pretty much the same. We're going to add these, or in this case subtract, these polynomials together, combine like terms. Make sure our answer is written in standard form. And then we're going to classify only by number of terms. Okay, so the directions do not tell us to classify by degree, so we don't have to worry about that in this part of the lesson. So the first thing that needs to happen is I need to get rid of these parentheses. And if you want to, you can think of the distributive property using 1. And obviously if I distribute 1 to every term, that doesn't change anything within the parentheses. So I'm basically just going to drop the parentheses. And the same thing happens to this next polynomial. If I distribute 1, that's really just dropping the parentheses. Now, when I get to this last polynomial, I'm distributing negative 1. So that's a different story. Negative 1 times negative 2a squared makes it positive 2a squared. Negative 1 times positive 3 is negative 3ab. And then negative 1 times negative 9 makes plus 9. And now that I've removed all the parentheses, I can do what we were doing previously, combine like terms. So I'm going to start with the highest exponent for a, the quadratic, 3a squared. I can match that up with 5a squared and 2a squared, and that gives me 10a squared. And then I'm going to look for some other like terms, like I noticed that I've got some ab terms. Well, negative ab plus ab, of course that makes 0. Leaving me with minus 3ab. And then all I'm left with now are constants. So negative 7 plus 8 is 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. So that's the standard form, polynomial, highest to lowest exponent. And classifying by number of terms, I would say that this is a trinomial. Okay? In this set of problems, we're doing more sophisticated multiplication. The directions, again, just read them carefully. I need to put this in standard form after multiplying, combining like terms, and then classify by the number of terms. Well, remember, a lot of people will mess up here because you've got to think about the order of operations. And before I multiply, I need to take care of powers. And in class today, I showed the class a way to, some people, when I asked them, how would you square b minus 3, some people said, well, you would just write b minus 3 twice. That's what it means to square b minus 3, and then you would use the FOIL method. And that's not bad. That's certainly okay. But I showed them a way that they could avoid having to write this down twice and use FOIL. So I'll show it to you. If it's something that you don't want to do, you would rather just stick to writing it down twice and using FOIL, that's fine. Maybe you saw this in Algebra 1. So notice I just brought the b down because I'm not multiplying yet. I'm going to square this binomial. And here's a little three-step mental math process for squaring a binomial. The first step is to square the first term. The first term is b. Obviously, if I square that, I get b squared. To get the middle term, I need to do this. I'm going to multiply these two terms together. B times negative 3. That's negative 3b. And then I'm going to multiply that by 2. So I use the expression first times second times 2. First times second times 2. And that's minus 6b. And then the final step is to square the last term. Negative 3 squared is plus 9. Now that's exactly what we'd have gotten if we wrote it down twice and used FOIL. But this might be a little faster. It's just mental math. And once you've done it a few times, it's really not too bad. Square the first term. First times second times 2. Square the last term. Okay? And now I'm ready to do the distributive property with b. So b to the third minus 6b squared plus 9b. That's my standard form polynomial. So that's my first part of the answer. And classifying by number of terms, this is a trinomial. Okay, let's try this one from that same section. And this is a little different because this time we're being asked to cube a binomial. So what I'm suggesting is let's just put this as 2x plus 5 times 2x plus 5 squared plus 1. Because I just showed you how you can square a binomial using a three-step mental math process. Square the first term. First times second times 2 would give us 20x. Square the last term. And then I'm just going to bring down plus 1. Now when we multiply a binomial times a trinomial, we think of the distributive property, but think of the distributive property two different times. The first time, we will distribute 2x. So I'm going to distribute 2x times each of these three terms, and here's what I get. 8x to the third plus 40x squared plus 50x. Okay. Now I'm going to continue, but I'm going to distribute 5 to each of these terms. Okay, 5 times 4x squared, 5 times 20x, 5 times 100, 5 times 25, and then I'm just going to bring down the plus 1. And now I'm ready to combine like terms to get my standard form polynomial. There's only one cubic term. There's a couple of quadratic terms, that's 60x squared. There's a couple of linear terms, that's 150x. And then I've got these two constants that can be combined, plus 126. Okay, so that's the standard form polynomial, highest to lowest, exponent order. And then to classify by the number of terms, I would just say, well, it's a polynomial with 4 terms. Remember, for 4 terms and higher, we don't have a specific name that we can give polynomial. We just describe it. All right, let's just try one more. Really, a couple different ways you can do this. I'm going to bracket these two binomials together, and I'm going to use FOIL on these two that I have in blue brackets. Okay, so 2c times 2c is 4c squared. 2c times negative 1, 4 times 2c, 4 times negative 1. And then I'll just carry it down one more step, combining like terms, 4c squared plus 6c minus 4. Okay, well now we're back to that same process of multiplying a binomial times a trinomial. Okay, so distribute 2c to each one of these, 8c to the third plus 12c squared minus 8c. Now just continue distributing negative 3 to each of them. Negative 3 times 4c squared, negative 3 times 6c, and negative 3 times negative 4. Combine like terms. There's only one cubic term. There's two quadratic terms, but as you can see, they're going to cancel each other. 12 minus 12 is 0. Negative 8c minus 18c is negative 26c. And then finally, we're left with this constant plus 12. So that's the standard form, and we're supposed to classify by the number of terms, and that would be a trinomial. Okay, so that's the assignment for this lesson, and let me know if I can help you.